This podcast may contain spoilers from whatever TV show or movie is mentioned. Please listen at your own discretion. Welcome to Viewers Anonymous.
Yo, what's going on? I am Scoots Bronson.
And I am S. Foster.
That's right. And you tuned in to another episode of the Viewers Anonymous podcast where we give you our very own reviews and takes of movies and TV straight out of Hollywood. What's going on, my guy?
Man, can't call it, man. Just glad to be back in the lab, man. Life hit. We're a day late, but you know what I'm saying? We still gonna push out that content though. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm feeling all right though, man. How you feeling? Everything good with you?
Yeah, man. I can't complain, man. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling excited. I'm ready to go, man.
That's what's up, man. I ain't mad at it at all, man. Because we got an interesting one on the docket today, man. So
okay, before we get into it, how did you feel about this?
Okay, so obviously because we had the conversation beforehand, I was like, I've never seen this movie before.
Right.
So when you brought it up, I was like, okay, like when I saw like the whole like poster for it or whatever, I was like, okay, so this looked like some Tim Burton type stuff. Like it looked like the what was it? The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. So it kind of like the characters kind of look similar to those characters. So I was like, okay. I was like, I see why you brought this movie up. So when I get to watching it, I'm like, okay. Now, granted, so let me make this disclaimer for maybe the new listeners that we may have. All right. I didn't have what you would say the typical childhood. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't watch like a lot of like the quote unquote age appropriate stuff for me. Like I'm watching Jason and Nightmare on Elm Street and Candyman when I'm like 9 and 8 years old and shit. So I kind of skipped over this whole genre that we're doing today. So when you said that you wanted to do this one, so I was like, okay. So I gave it a watch. And like the very first thing I noticed, I was like, yo, Coraline has the worst parents I've ever seen in my entire life.
Absolutely.
Like it's literally their fault. Everything that happened in this movie, it's the parents' fault.
Absolutely.
And so that's the first thing I saw, and it made me think of like, so like when we do movies and they have like teenagers and stuff in it, we be like, yo, like where are the parents? Like we never see the parents.
Facts.
This bitch got parents and they're trash.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. This is the interesting thing, though. It's not that her parents are trash. It's the fact that her parents are always working.
Yes.
Right. So both of the parents actually work from home, which I thought was an interesting concept to kind of make this because, like you said, most of the time it's like, yo, where the fuck are the parents? Even with Wybie, right? He always brings up his grandmother, but we don't never see his grandmother until the end. So it's like, yo, like what the fuck? Like, why y'all talk about his grandma? And the only adults we see are motherfuckers, are other people that live in this apartment complex. So, or apartment building or whatever you want to call it. But basically, those are the only other adults that you see until she goes into the other side, which, you know what I'm saying, then you actually kind of see a different thing. Now the interesting thing about this film is this is the third film from the company who basically started off doing I just gave you the name of it, Nightmare Before Christmas. The other movie that they did was Chicken Run. And so it was Nightmare Before Christmas, Chicken Run, and then it ended up being this Coraline. So all three of those movies are made by the same company. And what's interesting is Tim Burton ends up coming out with another film of the same type, but he ended up making The Corpse Bride, which is kind of all in the same, you know what I'm saying? They all in that same vein, same stop motion type films. What I am glad though is Tim Burton had nothing to do with this. I'm super glad about that. Only because this was basically depicted from a book, so you know what I'm saying, they had something to work with already. It wasn't really hard to write the script. But the interesting thing about this is that this is kind of like a weird twist on Alice in Wonderland. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I don't know if you noticed. So in the real world, everything is like gloomy, glum, gray. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of like,
Raining.
yeah, like it's just bad. And then when she goes into the other world, it's bright. You know what I'm saying? It's colorful. Everything and everybody feel alive and shit. So in the real world, it just seemed like, you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers is down on their luck. Motherfuckers is out and, you know what I'm saying, down and out. Then she goes into this other world and like shit just popping. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like she just came into a club, like everybody in there jumping. So I thought that was interesting to show like the two different parallels between where she is. Um, but okay, so now let's go ahead and get into it. So what did you think when you saw this? You know what I'm saying, outside of what you just spoke on, but like what was your thoughts on seeing this for the first time?
Um, I thought it was cool, and also what you were saying like beforehand, where you were saying like, so we originally put this movie on the list because of the horror fest joint.
Right.
So we thought it would be cool to get like a what would be considered like a scary movie for kids,
Yeah.
basically. So we was like, we'll throw a little something in there. So when so I asked you at the end of the last episode, like, yo, do you still want to do this? Because this was originally for Fright Fest. And you were just like, yeah, because it's not really like a scary movie, but like
Hmm.
it has like something that's, similar. So I'm watching it, and like I said, I noticed that I was like, yo, man, these parents are like bad. But I also get like what they were trying to do as far as like showing like a message to the kids of like it kind of felt like the whole thing of like like grass isn't green on the other side type of thing.
Yeah.
Because it was like you said, when she would be in her room, everything is gloomy. Like she looked up at a wall, like there was a spot on her ceiling.
Hmm.
Because like when she would go into that world, like her mom would make her favorite meal in
Hmm.
that world. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, everything was bright and all this type stuff. She did everything that she wanted to do. She had so much fun, and she would wake up and she would see that spot on the ceiling, and she'd be like, oh, like, cause she just like she got the attention that she wanted in that
Yeah.
world. Like everything was brighter. She got what she wanted to eat and all that type stuff. And it's like it's kind of to me, like I said, I'm an adult watching this. Like to me, it was kind of like not only is the grass not always green on the other side, but also like yo, in most situations, like your parents gotta work. And we're not gonna be able to give you all the attention that you want, and you're gonna have to use your imagination. That's what
Hmm.
we had to do. When we were kids, like man, we had this big ass tree at my dad's house, right?
Hmm.
Like me and my two cousins, we would go in this tree. And you know what we called this tree? It was the spaceship. You know what I
Respect.
mean? Man, it was a whole little section of the tree where you could sit in there. That was the
Oh, that's
command
hard.
center.
Yeah, that's
You
hard.
know what I'm saying? Like, and what I'm saying is like kids don't jump in trees no more. Well, hell, they ain't that many fucking trees around anymore. But what I'm saying is like we used our imagination when we were kids.
Hmm.
But like now, like these now, even though this movie came out in 2009, this was I would say we were a little bit we was on the stage of not going outside as much anymore
What,
because
online?
yeah, because you gotta think about it. I think PlayStation 2 might have yeah, PlayStation 2 was out at this point. So PlayStation 2 was
PlayStation
out.
3.
Damn, was 3 out?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got PlayStation
Is
3.
this around the time of I want to say Xbox One?
That's what I'm saying. Like, so you're getting a lot of
No,
this.
no, you might be right. It might be PlayStation 2, Xbox 360 days. Now that I'm
That's what I
thinking,
was thinking. I was
yeah,
thinking that. And then, then you're getting into the age of, people using technology and stuff because see, Coraline, she was having to like, yo, her mom's told her to play what game she told her to play. Oh, she gave her a notebook. It was like right now how many windows it is and
hmm,
all types of shit like that. So it's like she's like having to use her imagination because her parents are too busy to pay her, some attention.
Right.
So I thought that was, what I'm saying, a wild concept because it's like, yo, like at that time of 2009, it's like, yo, like we had to use our imagination a lot at this time.
I ain't
And
gonna lie.
where,
And at that time as a kid, not 2009, but like in her age bracket, as a
Mhm.
kid, the last thing you wanted was your parents paying you attention. So I always thought that was a weird concept. Like when they put that in movies, I always feel like that's a weird concept. No kid really wants their parents' attention after a certain age.
I mean, this is true. And she was 11.
Yeah, it's
So she
that.
was almost there. I think 12, 13 is what it like, like whatever. But I think 10 or 11 is kind of borderline with like they still kind of want it. And in this case, it seemed like Coraline was like, well, first of all, she just moved there. So it seemed like it was one of those moves where she really didn't want to move there.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, okay, and if I'm not mistaken, didn't she have I think she had a picture. Like I said, I could be mixing this movie in with something else. I've been on a lot of shit lately. But I thought she had a picture where she was looking at two of her friends that she left from like her old school or something like that. But anyway, I think
No,
that
that was a picture of her and her parents.
okay, okay. I don't know why I
Yeah.
was like I said, dude. Dude. I've been on so many new movies as of late, dude. I watched what's the name too, None too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fire.
fire.
Yeah.
But anyway, but like yeah, I think that because she was in a new house and
Mhm.
she just really had no one but her parents really, and they were just getting her to use her imagination, and then like there's this fucking door that had a key and she opened it up and there's a brick wall and it's blocked off. And listen, kids, if that anytime that's just like in horror movies. Like The Conjuring, since we're on that, okay, The Conjuring. They went into the house and the not pantry, but the basement was boarded up.
Yeah.
And the motherfuckers knocked the shit down and went down there any fucking way. Listen, there's
Keep.
a reason why that shit was boarded up. Leave it the fuck alone.
Mhm.
And she went inside there, and like I said, everything seemed better on that side,
Mhm.
but in all actuality, it's not. So I don't know. I thought that was a cool concept to show to kids. I wish I could have watched this movie when I was younger,
Yeah.
but like watching it as an adult, like I'm noticing like adult shit. You know what I mean?
That's the reason I really wanted to do this though, because this is a don't get me wrong, this is supposed to be for kids, but I feel like certain movies they come up with some magic to make it to where it's for kids, but it's some adult shit in there for you too. Like so when you take your kid to go see this, or when you sit down and watch this with your kid, you don't feel so bad about having to go see this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause there's a bunch of movies where I take my kids to go see, and I'm like, I gotta sit through this shit, man. I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's some movies that when it happens, I watch it and I'm like, oh, I know they're not gonna get this reference, or oh, I okay, this is it's some stuff in here for me too. Okay, we good now. Um, and I felt like, excuse me, I felt like that's what this movie was. And like, if you watch, it's another one like this, Scary House. If you ever seen Scary House, that's kind of in that same vein. Um, what I thought was interesting about this movie is, and this was one of the reasons that I really picked this movie to do it, is like this is kind of like a weird psychological thriller, and I feel like that's what, like, you know what I'm saying, like The Wizard of Oz is, Alice in Wonderland, those type of movies. I feel like that's what those really are. Those are made as um psychological thrillers, but not necessarily with the thriller parts. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um the whole going into another, another world, and the fact that, going into this other world, everything seemed so good at first. Like, remember when Alice in Wonderland, when she first got, down through the tunnel, she was kind of lost, but then eventually she ended up running into the Mad Hatter, and they had the tea party, and everything was good until the soldiers came, um, when or before the queen sent the soldiers or whatever. Same thing in Wizard of Oz. She kind of got lost until she found, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion, and then everything kind of got good. And they end up in Oz, and shit was popping until they found out that, the wizard was basically a nobody. Um, so I think that that's kind of in this same lane. They just put a very, very nice twist on it. So basically, Coraline is, like you said, a kid who moves from that state up north. Um, I'll let you say the state. I'm not saying that right now. Uh, the college football. So basically, she moves from Dearborn, that state up north, to a place in Seattle. I forgot what the Seattle place is, but she moves from there to Seattle. Um, and they lived in like a nice house. They had a yard, but then now they moving into an apartment complex. Her mom and dad end up having to work from home. They not as free as they was back home, and now she, all by her lonesome. She left her friends and everything else, and she ends up running into a kid named Wyborn or Wybe, and she ends up seeing this black cat. And the cat at first, just moving around, just doing cat shit. And
Mhm.
YB is the grandson of the landlord that owns the apartment building or whatever. And him and her, they had this like cool, well, weird little interaction at first, but
Yeah, it was super weird.
yeah, but they end up kind of getting cool. And then basically YB leaves this doll, and it's a doll, it looked like of her, it's basically a
Mhm.
doll of her. And she ends up, like you said, seeing this door. She opens it, it's blocked off, but later on that night she see this little mouse jumping and shit, and then the mouse leads her back to the door. She opened the door. This time it's a whole fucking portal. She goes in, and basically it's everything that she left, but 10 times better at the moment. Um, she ends up going there. She having fun, eating her favorite food. She kicking it with the fake mom and dad, or the other mom and dad, and everything. They doing their thing, and then she ends up going to sleep, waking up at home. So when the next day, she ends up meeting the other tenants in the building, and then later on that night, she kind of thinking like, damn, I want to go back to the other side. So she ends up going back to the other side. Eventually, she finds a way to get back over there. She kicking it, she doing her thing, but um, and she end up getting stuck there for a little bit. Well, after a while, the second time she goes, she ends up getting stuck. I mean, the third time she goes, she ends up getting stuck for good. But then she has to find her way out because of the Beldam. And basically, uh, it's all because of YB's, I think his great aunt or his aunt or something like that.
Mhm.
Her spirit end up getting caught there too, and she ends up saving some spirits that was there that was trapped or whatever. And then of course she defeats the Beldam or whatever, and that's the end of the movie. um so what did you think about the parallels in the movie? What I'm saying, you when you see the parallels of the mom and dad, how what I'm saying, her real mom and dad were kind of too busy and kind of distant, and then her other mom and dad ended up being like, they didn't have to work, of course, because it didn't seem
Yeah,
like nobody in that motherfucker had a job.
it, it was
Um,
like a dream world
yeah.
basically.
So, what I'm saying, they had all the time in the world for this, what I'm saying, the dad playing tunes and shit. He could play the piano, and what I'm saying, the mom giving her cakes and all this other shit, and what I'm saying, feeding her all the time. And then what I'm saying, the other tenants, they dancing and singing and all that. But the tenants in the real world, they like the other two ladies are older, so they used to be burlesque dancers. And then the one guy, he was like a circus actor or whatever, but he had a profession before that. I forgot what it was. But he ended up becoming like a circus actor or whatever. So they all like kind of like fails or failures supposedly in that world, but in the real world, but in the other world, they live, you know what I'm saying? They lit everything cool. Um, what did you think about the whole parallel thing?
Well, let me say this. Like, so the ladies that used to be dancers, yo,
Hmm.
that was a wild scene, yo. That lady had on a bra basically,
Yeah,
like dancing. I'm like, wait a minute,
yeah.
this is a what? A
That
PG movie? Like,
that's why I said
yo,
there's certain shit in there that wasn't for kids.
I was like, yo, that's wild. Like, it wasn't even a one piece. Yo, she had like a two-piece on. I was like, yo, this is crazy. So, I thought the parallels were, like I said, I think it was like little messages in
Yeah.
there, and it was just like the different versions of parents and the different versions of life where like this dream world you get everything that you want and blah 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 and all this type of shit, but that shit comes with a cost.
Hmm.
And are you willing to do the cost that it's going to take to stay in this world? Basically, like hers was, she had to give herself the button eyes and all this little shit like that. But I think it was like giving you that different version of the parents, where I think it was a version of her parents that she thought she wanted, but I think it gave her a greater appreciation of the parents that she had.
Exactly.
And I think that in some situations where, and especially at like 11, maybe not for girls.
Hmm.
I know for boys for sure where they don't necessarily, either they're not paying attention as much, or they just a lot of boys just don't mature as fast as girls do. Like, they probably won't appreciate the shit that, like, girls can appreciate some of the shit their parents do at 11, where for
Hmm.
boys it might take them motherfuckers about 17, 18 years old. It's like, damn, like my parents was trying to do this for me and I ain't get it at the time. And it's like,
Hmm.
now I finally get that shit. And I think that's kind of like what it was, where it was like, okay, like as a parent, like, yo, it's certain shit like you don't let kids do certain things at certain times, or let them eat certain things at certain times, because it's like, yo, like you're not eating like candy for breakfast, basically. Like, and with the button parents, yo, you can eat candy all day if you want. You know what I mean?
Man, what?
So it's like it's the version that you think you want,
Hmm.
but it's like, nah, not really. So like I said, I think that there was little, which I think they do that with a lot of these movies. Now you've seen a lot more of them than I have.
Hmm.
Like when you were talking about Alice in Wonderland, never seen it.
Hmm.
I watched it. Um.
Oh no, I read Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. But like a lot of that stuff, like, and like I mentioned, like, some of the Tim Burton stuff and stuff like that. Like, you know, I kind of missed that whole little stage. But like what I have noticed was like the cartoons. I'm mostly talking about the cartoons that we grew up with.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm going back and I'm watching some of these cartoons. And it's like, yo, like we used to watch this shit. Like some of this is crazy. Like, I
Absolutely.
can't believe some of the stuff that we were watching, like as kids, like
Ren
the
and Stimpy.
Coyote and the Road Runner and shit. Like,
Ren and Stimpy.
yo, Ren and Skippy yo was all time. Yo, and this motherfucker tried to take over the world every day, my
No,
guy.
no,
Like,
you thinking of Pinky in the Brain.
yeah, that's Pinky in the Brain. My
Yeah,
bad, my
I'm
bad.
talking
Yeah, Pinky in the
I'm talking
Brain.
about Ren and Stimpy. Yo, it's a scene in Ren and Stimpy where a lady comes from like I think she from like Holland or one of them weird ass countries over there in Europe, and she comes to live with Ren and Stimpy, and like she was hitting on Ren or some shit like that, but they was in the shower together, and
Yo.
she had the soap covering like her nude parts. And I'm like, I'm thinking back on this as I'm watching it because I think it's on like Hulu. You can watch it on Hulu or whatever. But I'm sitting here watching this shit. And I'm like, yo, the fact that this shit was on Nickelodeon as I was a kid, and I was literally sitting here watching this shit is fucking crazy. To see that in a cartoon today, you would lose your shit as a parent. But as a kid watching that shit, I'm like, and then it was crazy is I never thought anything about it. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like you don't even think of that shit as a kid. Like as a kid, you don't even care about that type of shit. Like them putting that in there did nothing for me as a kid.
Yeah.
I was more so willing to see what type of antics these niggas was about to get into. So like when they put shit like that in there, that's why I said like a lot of this shit be for adults for real. Um, but as far as like the shit for kids, it's literally made for kids. Like this movie is literally made for kids. But I feel like it's an adult element in this movie that allows you to sit through it with your child and you see shit in there where you like, oh, that's interesting. So for me, what I thought was interesting was um on the cake. If you pay attention to the cake, if you go back and watch this and pay attention to the cake, the way that the word is written, the words are written on there, um are different from the real mom's handwriting. So it's a scene in there where you can see the real mom's handwriting in the beginning or whatever.
Hmm.
And when you see the cake I think it's the O in home or whatever. It's written, the loop or something in it is different or something like that. And at first when I seen the movie, of course, I didn't pay this shit no attention. I'm watching this with my little sister. But I end up looking up. Well, I didn't look it up. Went down the rabbit hole of movie conspiracies, and then Coraline pops up. So I'm watching this shit, and I'm like, "Oh, this is for real. Like this shit is actually, because I liked the movie initially, but seeing
Hmm.
the theories on it, I'm like, okay, I ain't pay that no attention. So I go back and rewatch it, and now I'm seeing all of this shit. I'm like, wow, they really put this motherfucker together. Like this ends up being an even better movie now. But it's different things that kind of shows you where everything is. Like for instance, with Coraline when she goes to sleep in the other world, the first time she wakes back up in the real world. And
Hmm.
if you just watching it, you don't realize the difference of the second time she falls asleep because you just thinking when she falls asleep, she going back home. Well, the second time she falls asleep, if you are paying attention, you realize that everything is still bright.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that is an indicator that she's still in, you know what I'm saying, the fake world. She's not in the real world. So like if you really get into it and and you like a little bit too focused on the story, you know what I'm saying, you'll kind of lose yourself in that, which I think is a dope concept for them to put in there. Because like when I first watched it, I was surprised too, like, oh shit, okay, so she didn't go back home this time. But then when I rewatched it after seeing the theories and everything else, I realized, oh, okay, this is what they was talking about. So like I said, I mentioned the parallels of the worlds of, you know what I'm saying, the real world being, you know what I'm saying, it's raining all the time, it's gloomy. And of course it's Seattle too. So
Yeah.
it's like that. So so you know what I'm saying? Like, so that happened, of course. That's what it was. Seattle, Oregon. I'm sorry, y'all. Um, so it's raining.
Seattle, Washington.
No, it's Seattle, Oregon.
Oh, this is Seattle, Oregon. Oh, okay. I didn't know it was another Seattle.
No, in the movie it's Seattle, Oregon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it might not be Seattle, Oregon. I know they in Oregon though. Don't get me wrong. I know they in Oregon. They're not in Seattle. Um, but it might not be Seattle, Oregon. It might be something else. But I know they in Oregon. I'm sorry. Uh, so basically, it's just raining there. And so when she go into the other one, she don't got to worry about the rain or none of that shit. She just, she kicking it. But the second time she woke up, when I watched it again, I realized, okay, everything is brighter. You know what I'm saying? So, like even with YB, you know what I'm saying? The original YB, he don't shut up. That motherfucker can talk his ass off. But the other YB never said nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the cat can actually talk in the fake world.
No, he could actually talk in both worlds.
I didn't hear Keith David voice until she was in the other
Yeah,
world.
but see, that's what okay. So that's what I'm saying. So remember, she crossed over, but in the when he started talking and he was talking to her, he was explaining to her, I can cross into both worlds. Like I can do all that shit that you doing right now. Like ain't no difference between me and you. He can go in and out as much as he want. So technically he could talk in the other world too. I mean in the real world
Oh,
too.
okay. So I got this one thing for you. It's Portland, Oregon, and Ashland, Oregon.
Ashland, Oregon. Okay.
Yes. So so yeah, like I thought a lot of that was interesting, man. And another thing, to finish that one thought that you were talking about was the other thing that used to trip me out that I did never noticed as a kid was Rugrats.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers was doing full out mission in diapers, my guy. Like
Parental negligence at its finest. However, no. Okay, I'm glad you said that because this is interesting, right? At first, when I grew up and had kids, and I showed my kids Rugrats or whatever when they was kids, like little babies and whatever. I
hmm
watched. I was like, I started looking. I'm like, God damn, like these motherfuckers is very neglectful. Until I realized that that's not true.
okay,
These kids never went as far as the backyard.
this is true.
Everything they did was in the house.
Or
Technically, it wasn't neglect or negligence, which is the same thing. I don't know why I just said that. It wasn't parental negligence. It was just the fact that we were seeing things from their point of view, so everything
yeah.
was their imagination. So it seemed like they was doing some wild shit. Really, they wasn't. They was just in the goddamn kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the shit that they was doing seemed far out as fuck when you first watched this shit. Until you realize as an adult and really like sit down and watch it. Cause my I think it was like a couple years ago, maybe like last year. One of my kids was just sitting back watching this shit. And I'm like, why are you watching this, bro? You too old to be watching. He was like, I don't know. It was like, it's just on. I'm just watching it. And he was watching Hulu. So he just started watching the shit. And as I was sitting down watching it with him and shit, you know what I'm saying, nostalgic feeling or whatever. And as I'm watching, I'm like, you know what? They really not going no goddamn where. Like I remember one episode, they was just in the kitchen in the refrigerator. That was the episode. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing about this shit was far out as it seemed as a kid. Cause like they made it seem like these motherfuckers was going on like safaris and shit and going out of space. No, man, they wasn't doing nothing crazy. These motherfuckers was in the house. They had a babysitter and they was just in the shit. This is a normal ass, these are normal ass kids doing normal shit.
Yeah, fuck Angelica, man. I never liked that bitch.
You know what, man? I appreciated Angelica, man.
I ain't like her.
She was hard on them kids for a reason. You know what I'm saying? She was getting them ready for the real world. She was getting them ready for the real world, bro.
Oh man, that's funny. Cause you know what, you're right. She
You ain't gonna do
did.
nothing but run into Angelicas in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Man, yo, it's a lot of Angelicas in this world. But nah, but real talk.
Mhm.
So no, I thought that given Coraline, I almost forgot her damn name, like basically like that choice of like making her pick like which parents. And
Mhm.
then and like so the parents with the buttons over their eyes, like the mother just went just straight up flip mode and just basically turned into the devil on her ass because she didn't want to, pick her and she wanted her old parents back and like, well, you can't leave and you got to stay here and all this type shit. So I thought that the messaging for me was just the whole thing of like you can't like number one, you can't have it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole thing. But then also just like basically what I said earlier, like don't take your parents for granted
Mm-hmm.
type things. And I think that a lot of kids, they're just like any situation, your kid asks for something and you be like, no, and like they'll either get upset or depending on your kid, they either get upset or they cry or whatever the case may be. And it's like you don't understand like what we're doing as parents is like I told you before, like sometimes even if I can get my kids something or something that they ask for, whatever, I might tell them no just to say no sometimes.
Right.
Like I can do it or we can go, but it's like you gotta know you can't get everything you want. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Like that's life, yo. And you're gonna have to learn to eat this disappointment. And
Yeah.
I think that what they was trying to do, like in the other world, Coraline is getting everything that she wants,
Mm-hmm.
but it came with a price, and she wasn't willing to take that price. And then within also learning that, she also realized like my parents aren't that bad.
Right.
Like I made it seem like what they were doing was so terrible because they are working and I want my mom like like the whole thing with the gloves. Like she
Mm-hmm.
wanted the gloves and Mom Dukes didn't get her the gloves. But now her mom ended up getting it
Yeah.
at the end or whatever. But I think that she appreciated it more after going through what she went through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, did she go through it or did she dream it?
No, she went through it. This is
Okay,
all
okay.
of it actually happened. But the interesting thing is, um, so okay, so the other mom basically is the Beldam or whatever. That's what they kept calling her, the Beldam. And she created this whole world to basically um get Coraline. Because Coraline was new there or whatever. And you know what I'm saying? She couldn't get Wybie because she already got his great aunt. So the you end up finding out that the dog didn't really technically come from Wybie. It came from the Beldam. And the
Mm,
Beldam uses the dolls to watch, you know what I'm saying, the kids that she's going after. And so um in the part where when Coraline was trying to leave, she caught Coraline and she threw her into the little dungeon room or whatever.
yeah.
And the other three kids was there. And she was talking to them. One of those kids was supposed to be Wybie's great aunt. And she ended up going missing and stuff. Didn't nobody know, so on and so forth. So remember they gave her the thing of if you can find, I think it was if you could find their eyes or something like that. And damn, what else? It was something else. It was she had to find something else and find the eyes because the Beldam kidnapped their parents and it killed the other Wybie, the one that didn't talk, the fake one. So um when it first happened, remember when she was first turning into the spider monster or whatever, you know what I'm saying? She was basically like sick of the shit. Like, all right, I'm trying to convince you, you fucking up, you don't know what you fucking with. And then eventually when she come back, she realized that this motherfucker is the devil spider lady. So um so basically when she get out the second time, the other YB is the one who helps her out.
Mhm.
And when she comes back after realizing her parents and everybody gone, uh, she goes back to save them. And then that's when it's the full devil spider lady or whatever. And then they come up with a plan to basically release the 3 kids' souls or whatever, and then save her parents. She found a way to do that. She got the key. Remember, she was about to throw the key in the well, and then the arm had
Yep.
came back and got her. What the real YB smashed the arm with the rock or whatever, and you know what I'm saying. Basically, they ended up celebrating and having a party after she get her gloves and all that. And then the landlord comes so she can explain what happened, you know what I'm saying, to her sister. So I don't know, man. I thought it was dope, you know what I'm saying, to be able to see a story like this, because it's not really many stories you can see like this.
Hmm.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, at least, once I went back and rewatched everything, and especially I think what really piqued my interest is hearing the theories about the movie too. Because there's a lot of different fan theories about this movie, and it's weird because this movie has like a weird cult following. Um, and I never realized like how big of a fan base this movie has. But if you go online, like you can really get into a rabbit hole with this movie, which I think is dope because there's not too many movies you can do that with. Um, but just real quick, I wanted to talk. I put this in the notes, and I wanted to talk about this, bro.
Okay.
This film grossed 16.8 or 16.9 million during this opening weekend, and that was at the time it was number 3, but it ended up grossing over 124 million worldwide, bro.
Yeah, but
That's crazy.
also an estimated budget of 60 million though.
Well, that's really because of all of the technology and everything that
Yeah.
they had to spend to make the shit. So for me, I feel like, and this is what I was gonna ask you. I'm glad you said that. This is what I was gonna ask you. Do you feel like because of where it was at, right? 16.9 million in box office, right? And that being third on the release. Do you think that that's a win, or do you think that it's a L? But and the only reason I'm asking is because remember, this isn't like a normal movie where you can get like actors do a little bit of CGI and you got a movie. This is literally voice acting. This is stop motion. So that means that they have to create the shit, film it. Um they gotta put it all together. They gotta make sure, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a totally different it's like if you do claymation, you literally have to recreate every scene, you know what I'm saying, over and over again. You can't just do a constant scene. You have to literally like create the scenes piece by piece. So like, do you feel like this is a W, or do you feel like this is like a L?
For me, it's like it's kind of in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason I say it's kind of in the middle is because okay, so the estimated budget is 60, 16.8 opening. Gross in the United States is 82.4 and 131.7 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason I say it's kind of in the middle is because these films, when it comes to when they make movies for kids, the reason why a lot of these Pixar movies and stuff make so much money is because, I mean, shit, like the numbers getting lower,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the times, most people usually have at least about 2 kids.
Right.
So the way they look at it when they make a lot of these movies is like, all right, well, parents are going to take their kids to the movies to watch this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of like the Pixar movies and all that little stuff like that, they make a lot of the times more money than the movies for quote unquote adults. Because like when adults go to the movies, it's probably only like 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you're on a date or you go with a friend or whatever the case may be. The reason why the kids movies make more is because, like I said, most of the time, not
Shit,
most
you
of the
can
time,
have
but a
four or
good
five kids for real.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you end up making more. The reason why I say it's in the middle because when you're talking 2009,
Mm-hmm.
for this movie to be third, it's a win because making 16 million in the opening weekend, like today,
Oh, that ain't shit.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
like then, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I say like it's kind of in the middle a little bit. And also, like you said, most of the money went into like the animation type of shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the top billing for this is Dakota Fanning. Now, don't get me wrong. That time, but this is the thing, like with Dakota. Like Dakota was like the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was, and don't
Huge
get me wrong, it was well deserving. It
Yeah,
was very
huge
well
child star.
because hold on, where am I joining at? So right, wait a minute, that's 2001. So, hold on. So when did my joint come out? Because the first thing I personally ever seen her in was hide and seek.
Okay.
So, well, maybe nope. Man on Fire was first. So, Man on Fire, yes,
Mm-hmm.
because Man on Fire was 2004. Hide and Seek was 2005.
Okay.
So you come out Man on Fire. She go toe to toe with motherfucking Denzel Washington.
Facts.
Then she goes toe to toe with motherfucking Robert De Niro.
Facts.
Then same year she go toe to toe in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise.
Yep.
So you sitting here looking at this girl like, yo, and then she stays in her lane with fucking Charlotte's Web in 2006, when she's actually like a kid and all this type shit.
Well, I
So
believe is that the live action or is that the
that's
stop
the that's
motion
the
film?
live action. That's the live action one.
Okay.
So now she got other stuff that's in here, but so Coraline comes out in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So with her being the top billing in this movie, she's
Mm-hmm.
the youngest person.
Right.
So they didn't have to put like probably as much money in this cast because the only other person that I personally know is Keith David, and
Right.
he didn't say that much as the cat.
Right.
So
I mean, you
this,
got Terry Hatcher. Terry Hatcher is a big name around this time. Um, Robert Bailey Jr., the dude who voices Wyvern. Um, I've seen him in some things, but more so on like the guest starring side.
yeah,
Not even so much so as like the what I'm saying, the get like the co-star, but more so on the guest star side. Ian McShane.
Ian
Um,
McShane, yeah.
yeah, Ian McShane is big.
I felt like he was more of a late bloomer though. I felt like after this is when he really, well, to me, I started noticing him in a lot of shit.
Well, I didn't really notice him for real, honestly, until American Gods.
I noticed him a little bit before then. Like I
Okay.
like I seen him in We Are Marshall. Um,
Yo, I do not remember him in We Are Marshall.
he was one of the dads that son that died
Okay.
in the
Okay.
plane crash. Yo,
Okay.
that's mad crazy, dude. Yo, to think a whole fucking football team died
In the
in a
plane
plane
crash.
crash. That's fucking crazy. It changed the world though.
What's even fucking crazier is that these motherfuckers replaced the team.
Well, but it also changed the NCAA forever too because they didn't play freshmen back then.
Yeah.
And because of this is when freshmen was able to play. Was because that's all they could get. Like they just had to recruit a whole other team because
Was
only
it
like
that's yeah, in fact, but I'm saying that's still crazy though. Like these niggas die off. They like, yeah, okay, they dead, but we still gotta continue the season. We still
what?
gotta
No,
continue the
no, 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 no. It was the next year. They
same.
didn't play.
You still gotta continue the program. Like shut that shit down, bro.
They got to make money, man. But yeah, I
No,
seen, I
no,
seen.
they don't have to make money. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. They don't have to make money. Nobody watches the university or Marshall University football.
What you
They
talk
used to
about,
be
man?
one of the teams that I picked to make a creative team. When, before you was actually able to create a team, I would take them and move them to another location and create a team in Dynasty. Nobody cares about Marshall football? Or remember when they first started the Heisman shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go there to win the Heisman
Listen,
and win the
man.
championships there. That's how sorry they are. Nobody
Man,
cares about the
Randy
Thunder.
Moss and Chad Pendleton beg to differ.
First and foremost, don't never say them two names together. Ever.
What you talking about?
You can say Randy Moss.
He was the quarterback.
I
Who was
don't
Randy?
care. Anybody could have been that quarterback for that.
So what you saying?
If Dan Bloomington could have came out there and been the quarterback for Randy Moss.
So what you saying is Chad Pendleton that would have made the league and Randy Moss didn't go there. Okay.
I'm just saying. What other receivers play for Marshall? You know what I'm saying? Who else came off that team? That's all I'm saying.
So what you saying is that Chad Pendleton benefited from basically Randy Moss getting arrested and getting kicked out of Florida State.
Pretty much.
Okay.
But
a lot of people probably don't know that Randy Moss was actually at Florida State.
Yeah.
And got in trouble on some bullshit.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. Randy Moss benefited from it as well.
Well,
if Randy Moss stays at Florida State, right?
Mm-hmm.
They win the national championship. More than likely, because the people.
I'm trying to think.
Hear me out. The people at Florida State, they know how to recruit. So 9 times out of 10, they had a decent team at Florida State around this time, right?
Well, you got to think about it. That was in Bobby Bowden's run. A lot of people forget he was in the top 5 for 14 straight years. The only program to ever do it.
He wins a national championship, possibly goes top 3.
Yeah.
We may never see him with Dante Culpepper. We may never see him with Chris Carter.
Yes, what you're saying there.
He may not have the same career. However, when he goes to Marshall, he knows, ain't much going on in this motherfucker. I am going to bust everybody's ass in this conference. Goes there, has a hell of a career, gets into the league, goes to the Vikings, and becomes the Randy Moss we know. That's all I'm saying. Now, in other world NCAA, he stays at Florida State. He goes number 1. He goes to, I don't know, the fucking Raiders early. The next thing you know, boom, we don't get the same Randy Moss. We get this dude named Randy Moss who had hella potential and does nothing. You know what I'm saying? With button eyes.
I mean, this is true. This is true because everything is situational. I am not naive enough to think that Jerry Rice may not have been Jerry Rice if he didn't have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back.
You know what's crazy is, you know what I'm saying? That is true. That is definitely true. However, I don't know because he had Rich Gannon.
So, he did have Rich Gannon, and he also had over 1,000
yards on the other side too at that time. But
yes, he did. He very much did.
And that's an interesting concept, only because all of that we just talked about still correlates with Coraline. You know what I'm saying? Because if her ass would have never took herself in that little hole, she never would have got her gardening gloves. She never would have been able to have her party. And the Beldam still would have been running around this motherfucker taking souls. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you tie up loose ends on the podcast.
Yes.
And that's how you do it. Masterclass right there, ladies and gentlemen. We just showed you that shit didn't have nothing to do with it. We found a way, because that's what we do, man. That's what we do. But no, seriously, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. We Are Marshall is a great movie, and it's a tragic, horrible story. But I to this day, bro, I just like it. It baffled me even watching this movie. Like it just baffled me. Like, bro, y'all couldn't just like put a hiatus on football for like a couple years. And I get it. At the time, I guess it was supposed to make money or whatever. But the way that they tried to play off Marshall winning, like, nah, fam. To me, I felt like that shit was like Rudy. Like, you know how like in Rudy, when you watch not the dying part, I'm saying like just the football
No,
part.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're
Like
saying.
when
But
you watch Rudy, you like, you know what I'm saying, you cheering for this nigga to really just make one play.
I do think that if I remember correctly, like Marshall had a little bit of success. Now I don't think they won every game. I think they still didn't have a winning record that
No,
season.
they didn't. That's
But
what I'm saying. We cheer for these niggas to be losers.
at the same time, I think that when you're thinking about the state of West Virginia at the time,
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, Bobby Bowden was still at West Virginia at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when he were there, West Virginia was good.
Yeah.
And so like football was big in that state.
No,
So I think that
yeah,
was
football is big in West Virginia for
so
sure.
that's why I
I'm
think they
saying,
kind of
nigga,
like that's
Marshall,
why I think they yeah, but I think that's why they kind of pushed the whole football thing because they was like, okay, so right up the road, you know what I'm saying? They balling in Morgantown, like
hey
we
man,
need this shit popping in Huntington.
if
So
anybody could have took a break, it was Marshall. Okay. I'm sure nobody in West Virginia was gonna be mad except for maybe the people who went there, or you know what I'm saying, or lived around that area was gonna be mad about Marshall football.
well, if you remember the town, like they felt the way because they was like,
Yeah.
yo, like my son died, and like,
Well, and it's interesting that you say that too, because that was a different time. That's when like recruiting was like real recruiting, where you recruited people from that area mainly. Like it was a point in time. I don't know if like people know this, but like it was a point in time in college football recruiting where most of the kids that went to the colleges and universities were either from that area or like from that state. And
back
you
then it
had,
was like 80%. Like
yeah, and
80%
you
of the
had
team was from that
exactly,
state.
exactly, and you had a few other kids from a different state or a different area or whatever. Put it like this, right? In early 2000, let's say 2000, let's just say 2000. In 2000, CJ Stroud would have probably played for like Cal or USC. He never would have played for Ohio State.
This is true. I mean,
He never would have played.
that's how it was back then.
Yeah.
That's how it was back then. And so I think like the first like exception in like the 90s was Nebraska. I think that's why Nebraska was like, like you look at them now. I know everybody make fun of them now,
Hmm.
but like those Tommy Frazier years and all that type shit, like a lot of the roster was, you know what I'm saying, from another state.
Well,
And
it ain't too. I don't think Nebraska was as populated either. So
I mean, it's not. It's
you know
not.
what
It's a
I'm
lot of
saying? That's
they're the corn. They're the
yeah,
corn huskers, my guy.
that's what
Like,
I'm saying. That's the hell of like like it baffles me, right? How Iowa, Nebraska, um, I'm trying to think of another area, Idaho, um, Wyoming, or any Dakota, any one of the Dakotas. I don't
yeah,
understand how they get any players to come there play. Like you literally got to be down on your luck to play for any of them schools, bro.
yo, what kills me is how North Dakota State is fucking winning the FCS championship. Like these motherfuckers are like the early 2000 Boise State. Like these motherfuckers didn't
Yeah,
lose. Like it was crazy. Like
that's crazy.
and it's still going. It's like who wants to go to North Dakota and play football? Yo,
That shit
they
is
don't have a
ridiculous.
dome.
No, they play on like a high school field.
Like, yo, who? I would not understand this. I do not understand. Even South Dakota is like good. Like when you look at the FCS like playoffs joints,
Mhm.
it's South Dakota, it's North Dakota State, South Dakota, fucking Northern Iowa and shit. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like, I
that's
don't get it.
yeah, it's weird to me.
It's super
Um,
weird.
no, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, cause it's there's nothing there. Like when I went to Maine, like the little place that we went, the little city that we went to in Maine, bro. When I tell you, like, ain't nothing there. Like the biggest attraction around us was like Red Lobster. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like that's the type of shit that be in like Iowa well, I know why they go to Iowa. I take that back. I take Iowa back. I know why they go to Iowa because Iowa is a breeding ground for defensive players. Every now and then they get like an offensive guy, but that's a breeding ground for like linemen and linebackers. If you like a good lineman or a good linebacker, take your ass to Iowa because you will definitely get the spotlight you deserve. Um, but like Nebraska, nah, never. I'd never go there.
Me neither.
Yeah, they couldn't offer me a big enough NIL to go there.
Well, I will say this: if I'm lying, if Nebraska
Mhm.
offered me a scholarship in
You
2004,
gotta remember what time you talking to, because this is Big 12 Nebraska at the time.
exactly. So
Yeah,
that means I'll get to play against
Texas,
Texas,
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
That's
Like
it.
that's a lot of exposure. Now, granted, we losing,
I don't know, y'all.
but
No, oh no, wait. I'm trying to think. 2004. Who was that? That was
they were decent, but they weren't good because Scott Frost was already gone.
No, I'm talking
This
about
this was
Texas and Oklahoma. I'm trying to
oh
think who was there in 2004. Was that
dude. Well, hold
Pitt?
on, Vince Young. That was 2003 though, wasn't it? I think that was 2003 when they won.
Ooh, so that was
So he
after.
was gone. This was so Colt McCoy. It'd been Colt
Yeah,
McCoy.
them Colt. Oh, y'all definitely would have got your y'all got your ass whooped. Colt McCoy was the man at Texas. That motherfucker was cold, bro.
But, man, all I would have wanted was just give me a pick.
Yeah,
Let me just pick you out one time so I can just say, yeah, I picked out Colt McCoy.
hey, I
But
respect it. I respect it.
yeah. So Coraline was straight.
Yeah, Coraline was all right. We said I had to say that. All right, man. Let's get into the fireplace, man. You ready?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Yoga fire. Yoga flame.
All right, man. So, what are you giving this?
All right. So now that we're finally back on track.
I know they like, wait a minute, when did this become the fucking 4-3? It was a good conversation,
Hey,
though.
this shit turned into the 4-3 for real, man.
It was a
Oh
good
man.
conversation. It was worth it, man.
Whew, that's hilarious. Okay, all right. So Keith David,
Mm-hmm.
voice legend out here in these streets. Dakota Fanning, this is when she was in the middle of her run.
Yep.
So you know what I'm saying, I fuck with them as far as the cast and my man that we was talking about from We Are Marshall. But like I said, first time ever seeing this. And like I say, it just sucks that I wasn't able to watch this movie younger.
Mm-hmm.
And the wild thing is, like my youngest is like really a younger me. Like I was watching this and he was like, "Yo, like why are you watching this?" That's what he said.
He was confused as hell.
He was confused as hell. He was like, "Why are you watching Coraline?" He said, "This movie's stupid."
Oh man.
Yes, he's straight trashing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to understand. He's like me. He's in the hardcore like horror because
Yeah,
what he
he
said
like horror.
when he said it was stupid. What he really said, like, why are you watching it? He said it's not even scary.
Yeah.
Really, is he said. And then he's like, it's stupid. But but no, like I get. I think the messaging is cool
Hmm.
in this movie, and I appreciate what they were trying to do. I'm gonna give Coraline. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Okay.
And I almost gave it a four. Almost gave it a four. But the reason I didn't give it a four because I probably won't go back to it.
Hmm.
But I appreciate what was done in this movie because I think that kids need to understand, yo, you can't always get what you want, man.
Absolutely.
And if you do, there's a price to pay. I
Hmm.
thought that was dope. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
That's what's up, man. I'm gonna give this movie a 4. The reason I'm giving this movie a 4 is for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier in the episode. Is to for me only because, like I said, I've watched fan theories on this and I've went down a rabbit hole with this movie. To me, it makes the movie a little bit better, and I've seen this movie probably about like a good 10 or 12 times already. Um,
Mhm.
like I said, my first initial time watching this was when I was a little bit younger. Having a little sister who's 10 years younger than me, I happened to see a whole bunch of shit. Like, I remember for years on years, I knew every word to the first Shrek, every word. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause she would watch that shit nonstop. So, you know what I'm saying? Then eventually I end up having kids. Now I know all the movies to be able to show them and stuff like that. So yeah, for me, it has a little nostalgia to it as well, but also just the fact that, like I said, there's so much in this movie that you can kind of, you know what I'm saying, look at and pay attention to. There's some things in there that they kind of do like hidden Easter egg type stuff too. So I definitely appreciate that. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 4.
Okay, I ain't mad at it.
All right, man. You ready to do coming soon?
Yes, yes, sir.
Let's go.
Coming soon to own on video and DVD.
All right, man. Now this next episode, you guys get ready for, man. We are doing the long kiss goodnight. Um, the tables have turned. I don't believe I ever saw this movie.
Yo, you are out of your fucking mind. Yo, listen.
Yeah.
This is my mom's favorite movie.
Who is in
Yo,
this?
first of all, do not disrespect Samuel L. Jackson, my guy. Don't
Okay, maybe I have
disrespect
seen
Gina Davis. Like, yo, this movie so fire. Yo, Samuel L. Jackson has this ability to get in a movie and just completely take over. Like, this dude, yo, I can't wait to do this shit. So this was the movie where the woman was like, she was like a trained assassin, but she lost her memory because she got shot in the head and she lost her memory.
it. She's a horrible assassin.
Well, well, I'm not gonna give it away.
Yeah,
There's a reason why she got shot in the head.
right.
And like I said, she ended up losing her memory. But what ended up happening was she started getting flashes um of her past and all this type shit till she could to her old brain completely
Hey, man.
came back and took over. I'm telling you, dude. Hey,
Time out.
watch. I'm
Is
telling
it is. Why is Samuel Jackson's name Mitch Hennessy in this movie, bro?
you. Yo, yes.
Uh,
Yo, you wait till you see. And then it's the crazy part. This is a '90s movie.
yes.
Sam L is dressed like he's in the '70s.
It's-
Yo, it's
yeah.
so fucking funny.
This shit came out in 96. Okay, yeah. This is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be super interesting. The fact that they have a black man with the last name Hennessy in this movie is already crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm gonna try to remember. I'm gonna do some research
Mhm.
because I guarantee he probably wasn't the person that was written for this role.
Oh, I'm sure he wasn't.
I'm sure it was, and I think that it was one of those things where they kind of missed out on who they wanted.
I know.
It,
Matter of fact, take it back. I know he wasn't because his first name is Mitch.
no, yeah, you got Mitchell Donovan.
I mean, no, I'm not saying it's not black dude's name Mitch. That's what I'm saying. Matter of
Okay.
fact, that's Gan's real name, Mitch. I'm saying,
Yo, why?
I'm saying like, just like when in movies, right? Because then when you got to remember we talking about 96. So in movies, when they cast certain characters, like certain characters' names are like they you can read a character's name and tell directly who that character is.
Yeah.
I actually want to try this one episode. We got to find an episode to do this, but I want to name off characters and see if you can if we can read, like, pick character, you know what I'm saying, like pick some wild names of characters and see if we can uh you know what I'm saying, tell each other what that character is, black or
Just
white
by the
or
name.
Asian or whatever. Yeah, just by the name. Because I'm telling you, especially like in the 90s, come on, man.
Yeah.
That's just how they was. If they would have known, if they would have written Sam Jackson for this movie, they would have gave this nigga a name like around his age and shit too. They would have gave him a name like Earl or Jimmy or Rufus or some shit like that.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, I don't think it was probably written for him,
Hmm.
but because they end up putting him in it, this shit. Dude, now don't get me wrong, like Gina Davis, because yeah, this is yeah, Thelma and Louise was before this movie,
Right.
and I think, if I'm not mistaken, well, this had to be around the same time. A League of Their Own had to be around the same time. I can't remember which one came out first. But like, so Gina Davis was already, you know what I'm saying, in
Yeah.
the '90s. She was that chick. But like Sam was coming because I think yeah, Pulp Fiction came out in '94,
Oh
and
damn,
that
she
was
was
his.
in the Fly.
She was what?
She was in the Fly.
Yeah, I ain't watched The Fly.
What?
Yeah, I didn't watch The Fly.
Oh man, that's crazy. You a horror fan and you never watched The Fly
Never seen The
with Jeff
Fly.
Goldblum?
Uh-uh.
Hey, do your homework, brother. Great movie. Great
Okay.
movie.
Okay.
My
All
mom
right.
forced me to watch that shit when I was like 12. Best decision I ever made to watch that movie, bro. That movie is
Okay.
great.
Okay. I know the thing like it's black and like lime green.
Yeah,
Like the cover. Yeah, I've seen the cover before, just never seen the movie.
yeah.
But like yeah,
Great.
I'm
If
telling
you
you,
did you see Mimic?
I seen Mimic, but I was never a huge fan of Mimic.
Mimic made me hate. Like, you know how people like hate cockroaches?
Yeah,
Yeah. Mimic made me hate cockroaches 1,000 times more because
that's
of
what's up.
seeing that movie. That movie made me hate the fuck out of bugs and cockroaches in general.
Have
But
you ever seen Bug
I
with
think
Ashley Judd
I may have.
when she was in this hotel room with this crazy ass dude? In the movie, it turned out to be a whole psychological thing where he was manifesting her brain and making her think that she had bugs inside of her skin, when she actually never did.
I
And they
probably
was
have not.
like,
Yeah, no.
okay,
Well, I would have to watch it to see, but I don't remember nothing like that. But
okay,
I'm
okay.
definitely check that out. But no, whenever you get a chance, bro, watch The Fly.
I'm gonna have to do that.
That is
I'm gonna have to
the
do that.
joint. Shout out to Jeff Goldblum, the legend, man. That movie was fire, bro.
Got you, got you, got you.
You won't be disappointed in that. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode, if you didn't enjoy this episode, if you too wish you could have parents like the fake parents Coraline had, hit us up, let us know on socials. on Instagram and X at View9Pod. You can hit us up on Facebook, VA Pod Watch Group. You could also check us out on X and our community, Viewers Anonymous, where we talk about movies and television all day long. And last but not least, if you aren't, please make sure you subscribe to our paid episodes. It's only $2.99 a month. There you can get extra episodes, extra content, all that good stuff. If you love Viewers Anonymous, you'll love our paid content as well. And if you like to follow me, hit me up on X at Scoots Bronson. I have a link tree in my bio. You can find me everywhere else there.
And y'all can find me at s.foster8 on Instagram and on Twitter at 28 minutes or less pod. That's just on IG. Follow the podcast on all major platforms, 28 minutes or less. Last episode is History of Horror Part 2. So go check that out. Let me know what you think, and that's all I got.
Yes, sir. And with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Without you, there could be no us. But until the next episode, man, like they say in Hollywood, that's a wrap.
Cut.